One of the most powerful forces in the universe isn't technology, money, or even time. It's emotion. It's what drives everything we do, everything we build, and everything we become. But ironically, it's also the one thing we often hide the most, especially love. We live in a world that celebrates innovation, boldness, and risk-taking. Yet when it comes to expressing how we feel about someone, we freeze, we hesitate. We think, maybe tomorrow, maybe later. And that hesitation, that silence can become the quietest yet loudest regret of our lives. There's a strange kind of comfort in silence. It feels safe. When you don't speak your heart, you can't be rejected. You can't be embarrassed. You can't lose something you never admitted wanting. But the truth is, every unspoken word builds a wall between you and the person you care about, and between you and the version of yourself that could have been free. Silence might protect your pride for a moment, but it imprisons your soul for years. I've seen people take incredible risks, launching rockets, starting companies, moving across continents. But when it comes to telling someone they love them, they freeze like a system on standby. It's almost ironic. We can aim for Mars but can't send a simple message to someone's heart. That's not because we don't know what to say. It's because we're afraid of what saying it might change. We're afraid the truth might make things messy. But what if, instead of fearing change, we saw it as possibility? What if speaking your heart isn't about losing something, but unlocking something even greater? When you love someone and you don't tell them, it doesn't just disappear. It lingers. It shows up in the quiet moments, in the way you think about them, in the way you replay conversations, in the way you wonder what they're doing now. That's the power of unspoken feelings. They don't fade away. They echo. They follow you, quietly reminding you of a choice you never made. And over time, that echo grows louder. You see them moving on. You see their smile with someone else. And you tell yourself, I should have said something. But by then, time has done what it always does. It's moved forward, while you stayed stuck in a moment that never happened. You can't go back and edit life like a blueprint or a business plan. There are no undo buttons when it comes to the human heart. Here's the thing about love. It's not logical. It's not a calculated equation or a perfect formula. It's messy, unpredictable, and human. And that's exactly what makes it beautiful. Saying, I love you isn't about expecting something in return. It's about being honest enough to let another person know they matter, that they've made an impact on your life in a way no one else has. It's about authenticity. And if you can't be authentic about love, then what's the point of being authentic about anything else? You might think staying silent keeps things stable, but it doesn't. It just creates distance disguised as calm. You tell yourself, maybe they already know, or maybe it's not the right time. But deep down, you're bargaining with fear. There's never a perfect time. The stars won't align. The moment won't announce itself. You create it by speaking. You define it by showing up with honesty. So if you still love her, if she's still in your thoughts, if she still makes your world feel slightly more alive, say it. Don't text it, don't overthink it, just say it. Look her in the eyes and tell her. Not because it guarantees a happy ending, but because it guarantees no regret. Because whether it leads to love or closure, at least it leads somewhere real. We spend our lives chasing the next breakthrough, the next success, the next big thing. But sometimes, the bravest and most revolutionary act you can do isn't out there in the world. It's right here, in the courage to speak from your heart. So don't let silence write your story. Let love do it instead. Because if you still love her and you say it, even once, even imperfectly, you've already changed everything. Time? It's the one thing we can't invent more of. We can design rockets that leave the planet, build machines that think, and create systems that learn. But no matter how advanced we get, we'll never be able to manufacture more time. It keeps moving, unstoppable, untouchable, indifferent. And that's why, when it comes to love, when it comes to something as fragile and powerful as what you feel for someone, waiting can be the most dangerous thing you ever do. We often convince ourselves we have time. We think, I'll tell her tomorrow, or maybe when things settle down, or She already knows how I feel. But time doesn't care about our plans or excuses. It moves forward whether we act or not. And while you're hesitating, life is happening. People are changing. Paths are diverging. The world is rearranging itself every second, and before you know it, the opportunity you thought would always be there isn't. The truth is, time doesn't stop to wait for your courage to catch up. It doesn't pause while you gather the perfect words or wait until you feel ready. There's no pause button, no rewind, no second take. Every moment you hesitate is a moment you'll never get back. And in love, that can be the difference between a shared life and a memory that only lives in your mind. We spend so much time optimizing everything, our schedules, our systems, our businesses, but we rarely optimize for emotion. We rarely optimize for honesty. And yet when you really think about it, love is the one thing that gives meaning to all the rest. You can have everything, success, innovation, recognition, but none of it feels complete if there's a part of you that wonders, what if I just told her? Time is a silent thief. It doesn't steal suddenly. It takes small moments, the text you never sent, the call you postponed, the words you swallowed. And over time, those small moments add up until one day, you wake up and realize the person you were waiting to reach out to is gone. Maybe they've moved on. Maybe they've changed. Maybe they've stopped waiting. And all you're left with is the realization that you didn't lose your chance overnight. You lost it slowly, one unspoken moment at a time. I think about it this way: if you knew the world was ending tomorrow, who would you call? What would you say? You wouldn't hold back, right? You'd pour everything out because there'd be nothing left to lose. That's the mindset we should have every day. Not because the world is ending, but because moments are. Every sunrise takes one away. Every decision not to act is a decision to let something fade. And here's the thing: people always say timing is everything, but that's not entirely true. Courage is everything. Timing only matters if you have the courage to act when the moment arrives. Too many people use bad timing as an excuse to do nothing. But in reality, there's no such thing as the wrong time to tell someone how much they mean to you. The only wrong time is after it's too late. We think time is linear, that there will always be another chance, another day, another perfect moment, but the truth is, opportunities don't circle back. They pass through once, and you either catch them or you don't. And when it comes to love, missing that moment doesn't just alter your future, it alters who you are. Because you carry that silence with you. You remember the moment you could have spoken but didn't. You remember the second she looked at you, waiting for you to say something, and you didn't. Those moments don't vanish. They live quietly in the spaces between what you did and what you should have done. So if you still love her, stop waiting for time to give you permission. Stop waiting for the right conditions. Just speak. Because even if it doesn't go the way you hope, at least you'll know you respected the moment, you honored the feeling. You didn't let time win. One day, you'll look back and realize that life wasn't made of years or achievements. It was made of seconds. Little fleeting, irreversible seconds where you either stepped forward or held back. And the truth is, you can rebuild almost anything, but you can't rebuild a moment that's past. So don't let time decide your story. Decide it yourself. Say what needs to be said while you still can, because time doesn't wait for anyone, and love doesn't either. You know, people often talk about rejection like it's the worst thing that can happen. Like hearing, no, somehow defines your worth. But that's not true. Rejection is temporary. It stings for a moment, then it fades. What really stops most people from living fully, from loving boldly, isn't rejection. It's fear. Fear is the real enemy. It's invisible, it's subtle, and it disguises itself as logic, caution, or timing. But what it really is the quiet voice that tells you not to try, not to speak, not to risk. And that voice has stolen more dreams, more love, and more life than any no ever could. When it comes to love, fear operates like a glitch in the system. It tricks your mind into thinking that silence equals safety. You start believing that not saying anything means you can't lose anything. But the truth is, you lose the moment. You lose the chance. You lose her. Fear convinces you that staying quiet protects you, but it doesn't. It just delays the inevitable pain of regret. Because at least when you're rejected, you know where you stand. When you say nothing, you stand nowhere. We're trained to take risks in almost every other part of life. Business, science, innovation, but not when it comes to emotions. People say, be brave when you're launching a company, but be careful when you're opening your heart. That's backwards. Real courage isn't sending a rocket into orbit. It's looking someone in the eye and telling them what they mean to you, knowing full well they might not say it back, because the outcome doesn't define the value of the act. The honesty does. Think about it. What's the worst thing that can happen if you tell her how you feel? Maybe she doesn't feel the same way. Maybe things get awkward for a little while. But life moves on. You move on. The world doesn't collapse. But if you don't tell her, you carry that uncertainty forever. You'll wonder what could have been every time you hear her name, every time you see someone who reminds you of her. You'll replay that one moment, the one where you could have said something and didn't, over and over again. That's not protection. That's punishment. Fear feeds on imagination. It magnifies the possible pain so much that you forget the potential joy. It paints rejection as this catastrophic event, when in reality, it's just a door closing so another can open. Every great story, every breakthrough, every relationship worth having begins with a risk. But fear convinces you that staying comfortable is better than being real. And comfort, when it comes to love, is just another word for stuck. The thing about fear is that it's not the enemy of love, it's the absence of it. Love moves you forward, fear holds you back. Fear says, what if I'm not enough? Love says, at least I tried. Fear says, she might say no. Love says, she deserves to know. You can't lie both ways. You can't build a meaningful connection while protecting yourself from every possible outcome. You see, rejection doesn't define you, and action does. People who get rejected are the ones who dared. The ones who didn't are the ones who wonder. And I'd rather be remembered for trying than for wondering what might have happened if I just said something. Because at least trying gives you closure. Silence only gives you questions. When fear runs your decisions, your life becomes a series of almost said it, almost tried, almost reached out, but almost doesn't make memories, almost doesn't build stories, almost doesn't get the girl. It just keeps you safe, small, and stuck in the same loop, and safety in the wrong context becomes its own kind of failure. The most successful, fulfilled, and happy people I've ever met are the ones who never faced rejection. They're the ones who faced it, learned from it, and kept moving forward anyway. They understood that failure, rejection, heartbreak, they're all just data points, feedback. They tell you something. But fear tells you nothing. It keeps you blind, paralyzed, and disconnected from life itself. So if you still love her, stop letting fear make the decisions. Fear will tell you to wait, to think it through, to find a better moment. But there is no better moment than now. Fear will give you 1,000 reasons not to speak, but love only needs one, because it's real. Don't fight rejection. Fight fear. Because the truth is, rejection can only hurt for a moment, but fear can steal an entire lifetime. Love isn't meant to sit quietly in the background, hiding behind pride, fear, or timing. It's meant to move, to speak, to be felt. When you love someone and you keep it locked away, it's like owning a source of infinite energy and never turning it on. It's there, powerful and full of potential, but it changes nothing until you let it flow. Love that stays unspoken doesn't protect anyone. It only suffocates slowly, turning something beautiful into something heavy. We've built a culture that celebrates efficiency, logic, and precision. And that's great for technology, but not for the human heart. Love doesn't follow blueprints or algorithms. It doesn't fit neatly into a plan. It's unpredictable, irrational, and sometimes inconvenient, but that's what makes it real. Trying to contain love or hide it because you can't control the outcome is like trying to trap light in a box. It's impossible. The whole purpose of love is to be seen, to be felt, to be shared. Think about it. Everything meaningful we've ever built as humans was driven by emotion. Curiosity, passion, connection. Those are emotional forces. They push us to explore, to create, to dream. Love is one of those forces, maybe the strongest one of all, and when you deny it expression, you deny a part of yourself. Saying, I love you, isn't weakness. It's alignment. It's bringing your heart into sync with your truth. It's saying, this is real, and I'm brave enough to show it. We live in a world where people confuse strength with silence. We think being composed, unrateable, detached somehow makes us powerful. But love doesn't respond to control, it responds to honesty. There's no formula for it, no safe setting where you can test it without risk. Love demands vulnerability. It demands that you show up fully, even if it's messy, even if you're uncertain, because hiding it doesn't make it go away. It just makes it ache in places words could have healed. It's easy to think that keeping love private makes it purer, more noble somehow, that if you really care about someone, you'll just quietly be there for them, no matter what. But that's not love. That's fear disguised as patience. Love is meant to be seen and heard. It's meant to live out loud, in actions, in words, in presence. It's in the text you send even when your hands shake. It's in the call you make when it would have been easier to stay silent. It's in the choice to show up, to risk being misunderstood, to risk being rejected, because the feeling is too real to ignore. Some people go through their entire lives thinking love should be perfect before it's expressed. They wait for the right time, the right words, the right version of themselves. But love doesn't need perfection. It needs honesty. If you wait for perfection, you'll wait forever. Love doesn't grow in waiting, it grows in expression. The more you give it a voice, the more alive it becomes. And even if it doesn't lead where you hoped, it still leaves you freer, lighter, truer. Think about all the people who mattered to you but never knew it. Think about all the chances that faded because no one spoke. There's a kind of heartbreak that doesn't come from losing love. It comes from never letting it live. It's the heartbreak of almost, of if only, of I wish I'd said something. Love that's hidden turns into that kind of pain, a quiet weight you carry because you didn't act when your heart was trying to speak. You might tell yourself that saying, nothing keeps things peaceful, keeps things the same. But it doesn't. Silence changes everything. It grows distance where there could have been closeness. It replaces clarity with confusion. It replaces connection with regret. And for what? To preserve an illusion of control that was never real in the first place. If you still love her, tell her. Not because you need her to say it back, not because it guarantees a happy ending, but because love loses its meaning when it's hidden. When you speak it, you give it life. You turn it into something real, something that moves the world around you in ways logic never could. At the end of the day, love that's expressed, even imperfectly, changes lives. Love that's hidden changes nothing. And the world doesn't need more silence, it needs more truth. So speak your heart, even if your voice shakes. Because love isn't meant to be stored, it's meant to be shared. There's a unique kind of pain that doesn't show up immediately. It doesn't explode, it doesn't break you all at once. It just lingers quietly in the back of your mind. It's the pain of wondering what if I had said something? What if I had taken the chance? What if she felt the same way, and I never knew because I stayed silent? That kind of pain doesn't fade. It stays with you sometimes for years, whispering reminders of the moment you didn't act. And the truth is, that pain, the pain of what if, hurts far more than rejection ever could. Rejection is sharp but short. It's a cut that heals. You get an answer, even if it's not the one you wanted, and life moves forward. But what if is endless. It loops in your mind like an unfinished song. You replay the same scene, the same memory over and over again, trying to rewrite it in your imagination. You tell yourself that maybe someday, somehow, you'll get another chance, but you rarely do. The opportunity passes, time moves on, and all that's left is the echo of what might have been. Most people don't realize it at the time. They think staying quiet is the safer choice. They tell themselves that avoiding rejection protects their heart. But really, it just postpones the pain and makes it last longer. Rejection gives you clarity. Silence gives you confusion. At least when someone tells you no, you know where you stand, you can adjust, you can heal, you can grow. But when you never say anything, you're stuck in limbo. wondering if maybe, just maybe, it could have been different. That's not protection. That's torture. The mind is powerful, but it's also cruel when it doesn't have closure. It fills the gaps with stories, with maybes, with possibilities. You imagine the best case scenario because it's comforting, but it's also haunting. You start to see her face in random memories, in songs, in places you used to go. Every reminder becomes a question mark. Every silence becomes a weight. And deep down, you know that all of it, every ache, every wondering thought, could have been avoided with a few simple words. I love you. The irony is that the things we fear most about rejection are often far less painful than we imagine. People rarely reject kindness. Even if she doesn't feel the same way, she'll remember your honesty. She'll respect the courage it took to say something real in a world that constantly hides behind screens and pride. Rejection doesn't define you, but silence does. It defines you by what you didn't do, what you didn't say, who you didn't become, because you let fear hold the steering wheel. It's easy to look back on the past and say, I wasn't ready, or it wasn't the right time. But the truth is, there's no perfect time for honesty. There's only now. Because life doesn't wait. People move on. Hearts change, opportunities close. And once that window shuts, no amount of wishing can open it again. You can rebuild companies, repair mistakes, even relaunch rockets. But you can't rewind time to tell someone what you should have said when it mattered most. And when you carry that kind of regret, it starts to shape how you live. You become more cautious, more hesitant. You protect yourself so much that you stop really feeling. You convince yourself that safety is better than heartbreak. But here's the truth. Heartbreak is survivable. Regret isn't. Rejection is an event. Regret is a shadow that follows you everywhere. It doesn't end until you learn from it. Until you decide that next time you won't let silence win. If you still love her, don't let the fear of rejection stop you from saying it. Because rejection might hurt for a moment, but what if hurts forever? You can recover from a no. You can't recover from never knowing. You can't make peace with a love story you never even started. So take the chance. Say the words. Even if it's scary, even if your voice shakes, even if you don't know what happens next. Because in the end, you won't remember the times you failed. You'll remember the moments you were brave enough to try. Don't let your life be haunted by questions that never got answers. Don't let what if be the story you tell yourself years from now. Speak your truth. Take the risk. Because the pain of rejection fades, but the pain of silence echoes forever. There's something we all forget far too easily. Tomorrow isn't promised. We live like we've got infinite time, like we can always fix things later, say the words later, make things right later. But life doesn't work that way. It moves fast. One day you think you have all the time in the world, and the next, you realize the moment's gone, the person's gone, and all that's left is the silence of what you never said. We take time for granted because it's invisible. We assume it'll always stretch far enough to give us another chance. But it won't. That's not how life works. Every day, every hour, every second we get is a gift, not a guarantee. Yet we spend so much of that time holding back love, gratitude, forgiveness, as if we're saving them for some perfect moment in the future. The truth is, that perfect moment might never come. The people we love won't be here forever, and neither will we. That's the reality. It's uncomfortable to think about, but it's also the reason why speaking your heart now matters more than anything else. We live in a world obsessed with later. We say things like, I'll call her tomorrow, I'll tell her when I'm ready, or I'll wait for the right time. But what if tomorrow never arrives? What if that call becomes impossible? What if the person you love moves on, changes, or simply drifts out of your life while you were waiting for the perfect timing? Life doesn't give advance warnings. There are no notifications for lost opportunities. You only realize how fragile time is when it runs out. I've seen people lose everything, companies, careers, even dreams, and rebuild from nothing. But I've also seen people lose someone they loved deeply, and no amount of money, power, or success could fill that void. You can rebuild a future, but you can't relive a missed moment. You can't go back and say the words, that were never said. You can't make someone hear what you never had the courage to speak. That's why love demands urgency. Not recklessness, urgency. Because when something matters that much, waiting is the real risk. You might think speaking now will complicate things, that it'll disrupt the balance or make life messy. And maybe it will. Love is messy. Honesty is disruptive. But that's what makes it real. The alternative, saying nothing, might feel easier in the moment, but it creates a quiet emptiness that lasts far longer than any temporary discomfort. Because silence doesn't protect you, it isolates you. And time only amplifies what's unsaid. We assume the people we love already know how we feel, that they can just sense it. But they can't. People need to hear it. They need to feel it through words and actions. A simple, I love you, I miss you, or you matter to me, might seem small, but to the right person, it can change everything. And if you still love her, if she's still the person who crosses your mind when the world goes quiet, then say it. Not next week. Not someday. Now. Because the truth is, you'll never regret being honest. You'll never regret telling someone they meant something to you. What you will regret are the words you never said, the feelings you never shared, the moments you let pass because you thought there would always be another one. Life isn't about waiting for the right moment. It's about recognizing that this is the moment. Right now. This heartbeat, this breath, this chance. And if you ever need a reminder, think about this. Every sunrise is a countdown. Every day is one less chance to say what's real. So don't hold it in. Don't wait for a better time, a safer time, a more convenient time. There isn't one. The only time that's guaranteed is now. Say the words. Take the chance. Let the person you love know before the silence becomes permanent. Because tomorrow isn't promised, and love, when left unspoken, doesn't wait. It fades. So speak now. Speak while your heart still knows the truth and your voice still has the power to carry it. Because in the end, you don't get to choose how long you have, but you do get to choose what you do with the time that's left.